Guys! It's Michael McMillan, one of the hosts of the show. Yes, I'm interrupting before the show even begins. But guess why? Because we've got brand new t-shirts and merch over at our TeePublic store. You'll find a link to it in this episode's show notes. That's the thing that you see when you tap on the episode and you scroll down. You're like, oh, that's what this episode was about. It'll also be in our bio on our Instagram page. But enough of how you get there. What is it? It's a brand new, super cute Bigfoot portal design by our friends over at the Little Friends of Printmaking. There's a couple variations of the design. You can get it on mugs. You can get it on shirts. You can get it a few different ways. It's pretty great. Just like Bigfoot. It comes in all shapes and sizes. All right, so head over to TeePublic, Bigfoot Collectors Club. Check out the new merch and shirts. Enjoy it and enjoy today's episode. Bye-bye.
It's Bigfoot Collectors Club with Bryce and Michael. I know a ghost story or two. Let's do this.
Yeah, it was fine. I didn't go back the next day. It's okay. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Bigfoot Collectors Club. I'm your host, Michael McMillan. This is the show where we tell stories of high strangeness and talk to amazing guests about their personal paranormal history. Usually with me, but not today, is your other host, Bryce Johnson. Bryce is off working on a top secret project that he's hinted around and about that we are still not allowed to tell you what it is. But you will hopefully find out soon.
Very soon, I'm sure.
So he's off doing that. He'll be back next week. We're very excited for what he's working on, and when we get to share it with you guys, you will find out probably everything. We'll find out everything, all the details together.
Yeah,
I'll say that.
Yeah,
because as we've discussed in private, Riley and I, that Bryce keeps secrets.
Not forthcoming.
He's not forthcoming. You'll find out about stuff, and I'm like, hey, so what is this thing? You've told us what it is, but what is it? And he'll be like, no, it's dead.
That's just a thing. Don't worry about it.
I'm like, okay. This is also hard to talk about without talking about it. But
the thing itself, yes.
We'll get into all this at a later date. You know this guy. This is Riley, super producer.
Hi, guys.
And with us today is an amazing guest that is returning to the show. She is a co-host of a brand new podcast called The Witch and the Medium. She's the medium, and she's also an intuitive. Welcome back to the podcast, friend of the show, ADELA LAVINE.
Yay!
Hi, how are you?
Thanks for having me back.
Before we get into it, we have a little bit of not business, but we do have something to mention here in the community. We lost somebody important to ufology. Yeah. One of the big guys. Stanton Friedman died last week. And he's basically the guy you know about Roswell because of Stanton Friedman. And instead of rambling on, I'm just going to be forthcoming. I'm just going to go to his Wikipedia page. I'm going to read a couple facts about him just to kind of honor.
Spread some information.
Who he was, spread some information. Yeah. So Stanton Terry Friedman, born July 29th, 1934, died May 13th, 2019, was a nuclear physicist and professional ufologist who resided in Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. He was the original civilian investigator of the Roswell UFO incident. He worked on research and development projects for several large companies. In 1970, Friedman left full-time employment in the nuclear physics world as a physicist to pursue the scientific investigation of unidentified flying objects. Since then, he gave lectures at more than 600 colleges and to more than 100 professional groups in 50 states, 10 provinces, and 19 countries outside the U.S. Additionally, he worked as a consultant on the topic. He published more than 80 UFO-related papers and appeared on many radio and television programs. Boy, we would have loved to have him on Bigfoot Collectors Club.
God, yeah.
He also provided written testimony to congressional hearings and appealed twice at the United Nations. Friedman consistently favored the use of the term flying saucer in his work, saying, "Flying saucers are, by definition, unidentified flying objects, but very few unidentified flying objects are flying saucers.
Strong point.
I am interested in the latter, not the former." Friedman used to refer to himself as the flying saucer physicist because of his degrees in nuclear physics and work on nuclear projects. There was one, Friedman was the first civilian to document the site of the Roswell UFO incident and supported the hypothesis that it was a genuine crash of an extraterrestrial spacecraft. In 1968, Friedman told a committee of the United States House of Representatives that the evidence suggests that Earth is being visited by intelligently controlled extraterrestrial vehicles. Friedman also stated he believed that UFO sightings were consistent with magnetohydrodynamic propulsion.
Yeah.
I did pretty good there.
Magnetohydrodynamic propulsion.
Sad goodbye. High honors to Stanton Friedman. My dad actually, of all people, heard him speak at the Roswell UFO Festival a few years ago. Yeah, my dad went to the Roswell UFO Festival with a buddy of his for
He's into that?
He's not. He's not at all.
That's what I was wondering.
I mean, I think he's open-minded. He's actually he's open-minded about it, but I think it was more they wanted to go as to people watch and kind of check out the festival and sort of
They wanted to make fun of people.
a little bit,
what I was
maybe
saying.
a little.
All right.
But he did
Becoming
say
more clear.
he
weird.
did say that he listened to Stanton Friedman talk, and he was like he made some really compelling points. Like,
awesome.
so I think that Stanton Friedman had the respect of skeptical dads everywhere, as well as UFO enthusiasts. So
Yeah, he was pretty
he's
intelligent.
huge.
Yeah, he was like, he wasn't like, there's a lot of people in that world, and he was pretty well together.
Yeah, he had a skeptical
Intellectual.
mind.
Right.
He was rational.
Right,
He's
he was
obviously
rational.
super smart, and wasn't someone to kind of get into the more. He wasn't a conspiracy-minded guy.
Right.
Right.
So anyway, I just thought, that's a big deal. So we have to pay
Yeah.
tribute to Stanton Friedman.
Off into
Rest
the
in peace.
cosmos.
Yeah. I know, it's crazy.
Well, he knows now a lot, doesn't he?
That's the
true.
first thing I thought. I was like, well, now he's on the greatest adventure, or, he's crossed through the great threshold.
All the questions have been answered.
Yes, and who better to have with us today than Adela to talk about all this stuff?
Good
So
point.
what are the answers that we find
Oh, boy.
on the other side,
Well,
Adela?
there you go.
What do you
I
have
love how every
access to
time
some
we
of this
have
stuff?
Day long, we're just like, tell us.
Yeah.
Tell us everything.
That is a broad question, Michael. The answers. What's the first thing that people figure out when they walk through that door?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much what I hear a lot. And I just came from Utah and did readings for a week. And
Oh, cool. Was it part of a festival, or what was it?
No, I have a following there, and I've been going for like 5 years.
Oh, cool.
Believe it or not, even in a small town, they'll love it. Me saying Tree Mountain. Giving a shout out to them.
Oh, nice. Tree Mountain, Utah?
Yeah.
Cool.
Shout out.
It's very tiny, and they're really sweet people. Hi, everybody. But anyway, the point is that, as we all know, that Utah is like very Mormon based, of course.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I do a lot of readings there where the people who've passed on will say things like, this is not at all what I thought it would be. And pretty much what they first discover is there's no rules. There's nobody waiting with a set of, this is what you have to do. This is what you not have to do. It's very easy. That's what I hear a lot. Like, it's much easier than anybody anticipated. Like, it's like walking out of one room into another room.
Right.
And that's the biggest thing I hear over and over. I mean, not just in Utah, but everywhere, every reading I do. But it's especially people who live their life extremely religious or even very skeptical and believed in nothing. What people tend to say a lot is just that I just wish that it was explained this way and not like, even especially skeptical people who were like not into anything before they died. They're saying if it was explained more this way, like more in almost like a sci-fi way where I just kind of slip into another dimension, I would have been more open. But people who usually come to me saying that, or like, but with all the rules and regulations, it turned me off to believing that there was an afterlife.
Right.
And so
religion can often get in the
turns them
way.
off. Right. And
Yeah,
so,
because it sounds so restrictive the way it's framed.
Yeah.
Like, there's a strong chance you could burn in hell after you die, which
Yeah.
is like
yeah.
not fun to think about.
Or even to them, heaven doesn't sound too fun to them either. So
Yeah.
the way it's described, where it's like an isolated, only for people who are completely, these perfect people.
I mean, it sounds like the worst party ever, let's be honest.
Totally boring. And I think what they get really excited about, and the second thing I hear is, I didn't know I could be a part of everything.
Wow.
So they weren't expecting that they're a part of this world as well as the world they're in.
Right.
So it's very much more described, more like how you would think a sci-fi movie would be, where they're just slipping into one dimension, from one dimension to the other.
It almost sounds like birth is harder.
Birth is harder
in some
yeah,
ways.
that's true.
I mean, look, it's tough. I mean, we've all had people close to us who have passed, and there's been definitely, there is suffering leading up to death a lot of times with illness or other ways. But the act of passing itself, you're saying, is
That's right, Michael.
Is easy.
Yes, that's true. No, I'm saying
Dying
like
can be hard.
That's right. That what they'll say is the ailments leading up to death is worse. And every person will say something different. Like some people will say, my biggest fear was I was going to lose my mind. And once that started to happen, I had to go. And some people say my biggest fear was like being in a wheelchair, and I just couldn't handle just not being able to move ever. So it's not the actual when they're leaving, like in the end. Sometimes even what looks very painful, that people are seeing someone, they're on a machine and all this stuff. They're saying I was kind of in and out of my body the whole time, so I wasn't suffering as much as you saw in the body. It's like the avatar is like going through, malfunction, but the energy was already kind of in and out. And they always say the same thing. There's some great design that we don't have to. We're not suffering as much as you think.
That's good to know.
And so they slip out, and when they go out, what there's a lot of people are surprised about is that I just didn't think I was going to be so aware. And that goes for people who take their lives. They're very surprised that they are aware of everything.
I sometimes wake up in the middle of the night, and I'll have this really acute anxiety of like, at one moment, I mean, this clearly I'm like anxious person. If this is like, sometimes I jump wide awake, and I'm like, I get anxious about the moment when it's actually going to happen, and I'm aware exactly what you're describing. I get anxious about being aware of, oh fuck, I am dying right now. For some reason, that idea terrifies me sometimes, and that's something that I've had to like try to help myself through. I think it's also just the inevitability of it.
Yes.
Like there's one guarantee, is that I will experience death at some point. And and I do take comfort in that all of us do. In a way. But you know what I'm saying? It's not like this. It's not like anchored in this narcissistic like death of ego kind of thing. It's just fuck, that's going to be weird. There's so many things that we avoid doing our whole life because we find them scary.
Well, it's good that you say that's another point that I hear all the time, is that if I knew it felt this way, I wouldn't have lived in a lot of fear.
Right. And
that I've been told from that realm that's what pretty much we're sold. That's what everything we're doing is based around this fear of death. Like, that's how everything's being able to sell to us, like products and everything about life in general, is the idea that, people don't want people to really know. People who are kind of in power positions know a lot of these secrets. And it's that the idea that it really isn't something as fearful as like you're describing, like the people don't feel like, oh my gosh, this is coming. They're like, I'm aware this is happening. And if I just knew it was this simple, I wouldn't have lived my life so restrictive.
Whoa.
So there's a lot of like, why did I do that? But I'm learning now because I've seen it myself. I've been to that place, not just in readings, but myself many times. And it is really that simple. It's just like stepping out, and you're still in this realm. You just aren't restricted and bounded by the physical part of you. But nothing really has changed as far as your awareness of this realm. The frustration of that realm is the living doesn't know. And that's where I'm supposed to honor the dead by going, I'm going to say the words you're saying. I'm going to give the message. They're like, yeah, we're frustrated. Like, so why did this happen? Why is this balance off? Why do we finally get to go, oh, okay. And now we want to go help. And everyone thinks that we need their help. We don't need their help. We're trying to help. You guys are the ones in the restrictive dimension.
Are ghosts watching me masturbate?
Yes. And they,
Damn it.
and this is what they told me to tell you, Michael. No, actually,
Slower, more sensual.
not
Enjoy
so
it.
many times. No, what they're. I've actually
Put it down.
I have actually
Just put it down.
Just it's okay. You have plenty of time. But no, actually, I've asked this question because I get this question a lot. And this is how I I ask these questions, and this is what I've gotten. The answer is once you pass to them, it's like watching a baby in a diaper. It's like they've surpassed it.
Sometimes, literally, in my case.
Sometimes.
I like putting on a big old diaper.
I don't know what to say to that. That's preferences and other things. But moving on, so
Getting free.
Yeah.
No fear of death. Just
I
getting
mean,
free.
I feel, yeah, I could see it that. I mean, I guess I've sort of, I mean, because that's the thing that always bothers. Like, you know, sometimes I'll be like taking a crap, and you're like, are there ghosts watching me do this right now?
well,
That's what this
they're not
podcast is doing.
watching. They are okay.
I mean, how many ghosts are in the bathroom while I'm in there?
In this, the realm is within the realm. So kind of look at like an onion. It's a layer upon a layer.
Oh, okay. I
So
like that
they're a
analogy.
layer of a realm outside this realm. And so you know how like I couldn't wait to say this to Michael because I used his show True Blood in many, 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 many classes and many, many readings.
Cool.
When
Awesome.
people are like, well, how do I let them in or how did I tell them to leave? I'm like, well, like in the show, they are dead. I mean, they're vampires, but they're dead. And you know how you have to ask permission to come in. And then when they leave, they out. I would give that example. I said somebody must have based this as based on some real spiritual rules.
Right.
And that is true. So it is a realm within a realm, right? Kind of similar to how where there was a realm within realms. There was a lot of realms within realms.
Yeah.
But it is kind of more of an invisible realm. And they are seeing and participating, but they have a lot of other things going on. And
Yep.
the diaper thing is really how they see it. They see it like, yeah, you know, you're not looking at a kid in a diaper thinking every minute that they're going to the bathroom, every minute that you're seeing them. I hope you're not, because that would be
I've never thought about
that would be
babies that
scary.
way.
That baby's gonna
You
shit.
see it as like cute.
I bet that
and-
baby's shitting right now. Right now.
I hope you're not. But I mean, you see it as like, oh, they're cute. No, I mean, that's a silly stage, and that's how they see it.
Yeah, I mean, I would think that, like, I've had discussions with this with, like, family members, too, where they're like, oh, I just don't want them to be on the other side, and then they're disappointed about this or that or X or Y. And I'm like, well, if they're on the other side and they're in the the afterlife, a lot of what we consider huge concerns here on Earth, they must have so much more perspective on now. And they go, it's not a big deal. It's not like
Absolutely.
you literally transcend what makes us human, obviously. So
It's
a
like-
lot of this stuff,
yeah.
you're not going to be annoyed by the same
No,
shit, you know.
Not at all.
It's like, oh, grandma's rolling in her grave because, we took the curtains down. It's like, grandma doesn't care about the curtains anymore.
No, they don't. And that's
And then they realize how stupid it was to be concerned
Right.
about the curtains to begin with.
That's right. That's exactly right. And that's the thing is that I try to compare it to imagine you were given an island of your own and everything of your whim. You're never going to die. You're never going to get hurt. You have everything you ever possibly. You're not sitting there worrying about, all these other details. I mean, that's like that times a million. So yeah, their perspective is like why this was so important to me. And now that the veil is just a consciousness that gets lifted. And then you're like, oh, wow, I can see how there's so much more. And I feel I got to go help these people who are still caught in this very, minute detail blinded, way of life.
So who are the ghosts? Like
Spirits,
ghosts?
'cause-
No, I'm talking ghosts.
Ghosts. Okay.
Why are there spirits who just get stuck and don't cross over? If it's just that easy to walk into another room. When we hear about haunted houses and hauntings and like the gray lady and stuff like this, where there's like ghosts that are seen walking down, stairs or old haunted hallways.
Yeah.
What's going on there?
Okay, so hauntings, which I started a YouTube page to answer all these questions, and I did one on the truth about hauntings. And because this is a big question all the time, and I wanted to explain to people that hauntings aren't really hauntings. So what happens is there are spirits that get traumatized, or they choose, just like here, someone chooses not to see something. I've had to tell people they're dead and they choose not to believe it because they don't want to believe it. Just like people do stuff like that here, where you're like, hey, you're not looking at this, and they're like in denial. And then there's people who are traumatized, but not all the time. And then what happens is that when people go ghost hunting and they're like, oh, that place has the most blah, blah, blah. Well, a lot of the spirits, what I call them bad boys and girls, that think it's fun to kind of they don't care about the spiritual law we talked about, and they think it's fun to mess with people. No one's ever talking to that realm. No one cares about that realm, but they want to go to this house, and everybody seems to want to talk and see spirits. So a lot of energies will be there, not just attached to a house. Like, they're not attached to houses. The ones that are repeating are the ones that kind of don't know. They're kind of like...
They're like juvenile delinquent spirits.
There's juvenile
They're
delinquent.
like rowdy teenagers.
They're rowdy. I've had them say that to me. They've been like,
Yeah.
oh, what's the big deal? I just moved a door. And I said, do you remember how that would freak you out when you were alive? Like, you can't do that. You know, that's against the rules. One. And then the ones that really are injured and lost, will do those repeat. It's like looping time.
Right.
They just keep repeating. They're like looking at you and, hey, how come you took this from me? And you're like, what is this? You know, they don't even see you. They see the person.
Right.
It's like a loop in time.
Being stuck in.
Isn't
that kind of like hell? Isn't that essentially being in hell at that
Not
point?
really, because they don't really know. They're kind of actually reliving the injury, just like people do here. People do it here all the time.
Right.
People get relationships, and you're like, hey, you're yelling at me, but it sounds like you're talking to your dad or something, because that's not me.
Right.
It's just...
They don't even escape their programming in death.
That's right. And so they do eventually get freed from it, and things get like turn into a different area when someone's like, I'm aware and I just don't care.
Right.
Yeah.
So what goes wrong at the moment of death that people get stuck in that kind of loop?
Sometimes it's trauma. Sometimes it's definitely like extreme trauma. Sometimes it's just a lot of pain, and they just can't get past that pain because the light people talk about isn't an actual light. It's an awakening. It's an awareness. It's, again, the conscious lifting and going, oh, wow. And some people are like, I don't want to let this go. It's too scary to look at really what happened to me. I've had even people say, I'm afraid to face the person who hurt me.
Right. I wondered about that too, if like some spirits are scared, because if they... if they've been brought up like there's heaven and hell, and it's like, I'm just going to hang back here because I don't want to face any type of judgment that they're taught that they might face on the other side.
It can be that, and it could also be, let's say someone was murdered and they're afraid of the person who, they're afraid that they're going to be with this person. But it's really like they're still dead. They still have crossed over. Don't get me wrong. It's not that they haven't crossed over.
Right.
They just haven't come to a higher awakening of like, guess what? Things can be, you can learn more. There's so much more out there. You're just like people do here.
You're
like,
hanging out in the lobby of the invisible realm. And instead of going like, you should check out the penthouse suite. It's pretty cool up there.
Awesome.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Do people who have lived and died on Earth stay on Earth in death? Or is it sort of, are you not bound to this planet?
What Riley's asking is if he can fly to Alpha Centauri when he's a spirit.
Absolutely. They are not bound to this earth at all.
Okay.
Actually, none of the spirits are bound to the earth. They are all exploring those type of dimensions and other universes and things and planets and stuff. It's what I'm trying to say. It's a realm. It's an energy within a realm. So kind of imagine like the internet is, right? The internet's a whole world of its own, and you go on and you log it while you're sitting in your chair. That's the same with spirits. They can be logging on to all the things that are going on here while they're enjoying all kinds of interesting realms.
And can you have like multiple tabs open, like being
multiple
mini?
It's times
Endless
a million.
tabs,
Endless
dude.
tabs. It's like
As many
surrounding you.
instances of
That's how they
Afterlife
show
Chrome
it. Yeah,
as I want.
as many tabs as you want.
All right.
Yeah, it's like
Sounds good.
I feel like technology has finally helped me explain its very, very raw, basic version of that world.
Do you think though that there's something to that technology is sort of evolving to almost replicate or mirror
Yes,
some of this
absolutely.
other stuff that's
Oh,
really
yeah.
going on?
Oh yeah, I'm so excited about it because like VR,
Whether
for instance,
consciously or not, you know?
Yeah, I feel like it's helping us understand dimensions and understand being in multiple timelines and understand, because think about if 50 years ago, the idea of you're listening to you right now while someone's looking at pictures of you. I mean, you're in multiple places. That would have been hard to understand.
Yeah.
And getting an email and like, how is Michael talking to me?
Well, I think we've talked about it on the show, or at least I've had this idea on the show of like, like texting is almost to me like telepathy.
Yeah.
Because it's you are communicating thoughts.
Yes.
No one is verbalizing anything.
You're spot on.
And
That's
at some
right.
point, there will come a point where, like, you don't even have to type to text anyone anymore. Just like I don't know how, but like it's
I absolutely think it's progressing us. And I heard you say that before. And that's actually what I tell people all the time. I say texting is like telepathic talking for them. So a lot of times I do readings, I go, let people know out loud because your voice is a vibration. And when you're thinking thoughts, it's almost like a text for them that they know you got the text, but you didn't say anything back. And they kind of miss that, vibrational connection. So absolutely. Yeah,
Right.
that's exactly it's like I said, it's introducing us slowly to that world.
that's pretty wild.
How does reincarnation play into all this? That idea, like when you've left this body and you're in the spirit realm, like do you come back? Or,
Well, I don't believe in reincarnation.
Dayla's not down on the reincarnation.
I'm not
I just want to bring it up.
Yeah, okay.
It's an interesting.
Thanks, Riley.
It's an interesting
Everyone's going to
point
be screaming
discuss.
like, "What?" Okay. So this is the reason why for me is because there are so much multiple places to be and there are so much multiple timelines that it just didn't. I tried it. I looked into it. It just never has resonated in the traditional sense of people kind of going, I die and then I just get another body. I do feel like our energies can be in other places, like you were asking, and you experiencing other things, but it just hasn't resonated with me to be necessary. Because you grow and you learn in the other realm. This is not the only realm that you can grow and learn from.
Right.
This is just the most hardest because of the limitation of consciousness. And because we believe that this is it, the walls around us, and that we're very limited in what we can do. But I don't feel like people think this is the only place you can learn. I just don't see that.
You look like you just got your balloon popped.
No, not at all. I'm thinking about.
And I've never had a spirit go, well, sorry, I reincarnated. And so I'm still open to understanding, is it a piece of them that's still existing and maybe they did reincarnate, but I just never have resonated it for myself.
I can't remember where I heard
me,
this.
everybody.
This microphone is really swiveling
so do you-
around on me.
Oh, you just give it a good
There,
twist
good,
there.
Thank you.
Yeah. So
I feel
do
like
you
a
get
ghost is watching me.
Well, how many
do
in the
that.
room right now? Ballpark.
There are so many
Spirits.
spirits.
Are we growing an audience in the afterlife?
Well, you
and
do
then
realize that
beyond?
I pull a lot of,
you got an entourage.
I mean, it's not that they follow me. It's just somebody's listening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you guys are interested. So they're
Right.
like, yeah, that's how it works.
We had that.
Come on in, guys. It's cool.
Yeah, I keep saying that. Last time,
my computer.
electrical problems.
I know. Which haven't
Stay out of the computer.
which haven't ended, by the way. They've only gotten worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you guys are you're talking a lot about this realm.
We had full disclosure to the audience.
Yeah.
We had 2 full episodes that we recorded this month. 3 actually, one for the Patreon as well, that got completely
Erased?
erased.
No, not erased. all the audio somehow recorded. It was like a joke. It sounded like spooky afterlife recording. It was like everything had this weird delay on it and it was all distorted. So like if I'd be talking, it was like,
Yeah.
and it all sounded fine when we recorded. I went back to edit the episodes and it was just like,
Oh, that's
completely
awesome.
unusable.
Welcome to my world.
Yeah.
But
Can you maybe talk to
you have
whatever?
to cleanse. You guys are doing a lot of vortexing energy in this space, so you have to cleanse it.
Who does that for us?
I'll clean it for you. I can
Okay.
clean
Can
it.
you?
Yeah.
We could. I think we could use a.
But you have to also do it
reset.
every kind of week. Seriously, like
I'm not joking.
It's actually true. Like it's why like people don't believe it until they see it around me.
Yeah.
That things just don't work. I've walked up to computers at stores and people freak out because their computer just freeze. They're like, I don't know what's going on, and the person next to them's fine, and then I step away, and
Weird.
so it's like if you're creating this vibration, it will start to. Their favorite thing is to mess with electronics. You have like a perfect.
There's
atmosphere.
a lot of little spots for ghosts. to hang
I'm
out
picturing
in here.
like the Ghostbusters, like spooky lighting going, like shooting around here,
Yep.
and then
Pretty
like
much.
hearing giggling. All right, we're gonna take a quick break, make sure that everything is
Still
good on the motherboard, and when we come back, we're gonna talk to Adela about what she's been up to since the last time she was on the show. Can we attract cryptids by talking about them?
I feel like cryptics are kind of if you believe they're interdimensional, yeah, it's the same like aliens. You can pull them in.
Wait, so on that point, in
Yeah.
the spirit realm, there's non-human entities in there too? I'm
Oh yeah,
assuming.
absolutely,
Are there animal entities in there?
absolutely, like
Awesome.
a ton.
That's great.
Yeah, I've done
As long
readings.
as I can have a dog.
Oh yeah. The animals are so much easier to talk to because they're not caught up in the emotional part. People are more upset about it. Animals tell me all the time, like, I've seen that dimension the whole time I'm alive, and when it's time to go, I just drop the body and go. That's why animals have such a more idea about it. They stick around for us because they know we're very emotionally scared of death. So they kind of do as best they can to stick around for us, and then they're like, I got to get out. And that's why when I talk to them, they come very quick.
Wow.
It's not a big deal for them.
So then what about intergalactic entities? Like
intergalactic entities, you're talking about like
entities that lived and died physical lives on other planets?
Yeah, I've seen those things, but I've seen them.
At a
You guys
distance.
are always picking on stuff I never talk about, and then now I'm just talking about.
That's why we do the show.
Well, I know you probably have heard of the Watchers, right?
Yes, we talked about this last time you were on the show.
and
Okay,
those are kind of like that.
These are like the dudes that are blue that are in the
no,
road.
Those are
I
those are
made that
different. The
mistake in the
Watchers are like the old. I think they even done a comic book about it, right?
Oh, they're literally like
They're
like Uatu, the Watcher in Marvel Comics. Like
the way I've seen them is they're ancient. You know what they look like closest to me is Fifth Element. You know, the ones with the hoods and they're supposed to be as ancient as they come. Now the ones you're talking about, I mostly talk to interdimensional, but I'm definitely don't think that's not. That's definitely possible. I've heard from that realm that's just all normal. That's just kind of not a problem.
I want to talk. Can we keep talking about the Watchers for a second? So the Watchers are non-corporeal beings, entities that never were living, that are now spirits. They've always lived in the spirit realm.
They are, from what I've seen, they've been around from almost the beginning. That's why they're called the Watchers.
This is some like old school Marvel comic shit.
like
This is
But
awesome.
I didn't even know that about the Marvel stuff till later. I saw them years and years ago.
Right.
And I didn't know what they were. And they are kind of hooded and they don't talk.
They don't talk
They
at all.
don't talk. They're like, there's no warm, fuzzy feeling. It's a very like, we're here to make sure certain things don't go a certain way, and that is it.
Are they like security guards?
They're like no.
No. I don't mean to diminish them.
Higher level.
No. I'm saying like, are they guards?
They're guardians.
Guardians.
They're guardians, but they are guardians to the up degree.
I feel like I really pissed off a watcher right now, and I'm I'm a little scared.
Security guard, Michael. Really?
They're gonna be like, really? Come on! Did you just call me a mall cop?
You're not even a real cop, Watcher.
Good job, Watcher. No,
Ever since my mom's been dating you,
Chad.
my life sucks.
they are actually like, they don't talk. It's hard to explain. They don't talk. They show up, and when they show up, it's like this empowerment. It's kind of similar to what people would see as archangels,
Right.
In the sense that the energy is like beyond, and they just don't mess around. Like, they're not here to explain anything to you and say, "Oh, welcome to a good feeling." And we're just trying to help you guys realize they're not about that.
What are their relationships like with spirits once you that have crossed over?
Their whole job is in the collective whole they're collectively making sure they're not dealing with the spirit. They're kind of more dealing with making sure we aren't crossing certain bounds and other things aren't
Here on
crossing
Earth.
certain bounds. Yeah, and other entities aren't crossing certain
And
bounds.
whose directive are they following?
From what I've seen, I've only seen is that it's their directive.
Okay.
They're not, I've never heard like we're following, because in that realm, everything's a collective whole and everyone has a role. There's no hierarchy. They don't even nobody sees themselves of higher or lower. They see that this is our role, and everybody knows their role and they work together in kind. So it's just known that's their role. It's like they've been around for a very, very long, from the beginning of time. That's all I've seen, and it's pretty intense. And
What are the chances that they have really kick-ass swords?
well, you know what they remind me of? I'm telling you, did you see, in The Fifth Element, those guys?
Yeah, but it's been so long since I've seen it. I can't remember specifically.
So if everybody goes back and looks, they have these hoods, and they just kind of are grumpy almost. They're not grumpy, but they're not nice about anything.
They're
stern.
Got it.
And so the swords, though, is kind of an energy thing that would be like archangels.
Right.
But angels aren't really what people think. They're not feathered beings and stuff, right? Yeah.
So, so this is great. Last time you were here, you had talked about you were having more, correct me if I'm wrong, more contact with this sort of side of things, and we've talked a little bit about extraterrestrials and contact with ETs.
Mm-hmm.
I know that you just started a new podcast.
Yes.
So I want to hear a little bit. Will you tell us a little bit about that, and then also like what work? Where's your work been taking you in the past year or so, past 6-7 months? I can't remember the last time. It's almost been a year since you've been on the show.
Yeah, I think it was like the anniversary show.
Yeah, that might be. Yeah, I think it was like back in October. I think it was. I think we had you on in October.
In October.
So it's been 7 months.
Yeah, that was about right.
Yeah.
So I started a YouTube channel because I get so many emails asking me a lot of questions. So
It's just me with a lot of different accounts.
Just Michael kept over and over asking these questions. So, no, I started the YouTube channel because, first of all, I'll admit that, lazily I did not want to do it because I was like, I could just, play Fortnite or something. But instead, I was like, people keep asking me these questions. So I did start a YouTube channel where I'm breaking everything down. I realized before I would give too much at once. So now I've done that so people can learn what are shadow people or what happens, paranormal activity, how do I get rid of it, stuff like that. And then so I've been doing that, and me and my friend Mystic Dylan, he's a professional witch.
Everybody's got a friend named Mystic Dylan,
right?
Everybody has a professional witch friend, right? Yeah.
That dude sounds
normal,
awesome already.
right?
We got to get Mystic Dylan on this show.
You got it.
100%.
He totally wants to. He's a
that'd be
band
great.
of yours.
I listened to the second episode of the show. There's only a couple out so far, right?
Yeah,
it was great.
We've only done 2. We don't have a setup like this. We're like totally paper clipping like show, but we're like, we just got to do it, so we're like, we'll just start somewhere. And so he and I have known each other for quite some time, and the cool thing about him is that he is a reader. He's a tarot card reader. He throws the bones, and he's a voodoo witch, and he's kind of a hoodoo witch. He's kind of like all of it, but he's like a Disney fan. Like he's not like what people think.
He likes to frequent the Jack Skeleton shop in New Orleans Square in Disneyland.
I mean, he does serious stuff.
Yes.
Like he does serious stuff, but he's way more bubbly than I am.
He's not like a dark occultist.
No, but he is an occultist, but people think like they're like, whoa, and so what we have in common is that we're very both grounded. We both kind of laugh at the world we're in, this crazy world we're in. And we also happen to think very similar. We're not woo-woo, and we're very kind of in the same, but the difference is he's a witch. And so his way of approaching things and all of that is different than my way as a medium and an intuitive. So we cover subjects that go, this is a perspective from him and how he would approach it, and this is a perspective from me and how I approach it. And he's very fascinated with how I can just talk to spirits like on a dime, because he can't, that's harder for him. And I'm kind of always fascinated with how he does spells and things like that. So
do you do spells much? Do you practice any type of magic?
I do practice magic, and that's kind of what we talk about, but mine is all very intuitive, and mine came from that realm, whereas his is kind of more like, to me, more grounded in earth. Like I'm more about energy, and I do candle magic, but it's very not like, don't come to me about the moon and what day and all that. Go to him. That's not my thing. I'm like, I push energy. I have done it for people and it has worked, but it takes a lot of energy, and I've done it for myself and it's worked. But I'm kind of more like use my sight on the idea of going which way to turn left or right and looking through time.
Right. You've brought this up before, the aspect of
right.
like looking through time.
Right. And remote viewing and that kind of thing. And so that's what that podcast is about, is how we approach things different. But yeah, I can look through someone's path and see the timeline. And it's not like I say to you, you have to do this. I just say, look, this is where it's going. And if you go left and right, like, let's say it's about a job, or let's say, like in your case, it's an audition or something like this. I can see the casting person. I can see all that. I can jump time and see what it's going to all look like. And I've done court cases and things like that.
Oh, wow.
So remote viewing helps with seeing all those things. And then I say, if you go left, right, like the Matrix. But sometimes people are like, screw Adela, and they do what they want.
Most people want advice and rarely take it.
Yeah,
that's just what people do.
Yeah, and the difference with me is that people remember I'm not giving advice, I'm actually seeing it. So people will a lot of times follow, and they'll send me emails going that, that shit happened, and thank you, and I did go that direction. But I'm not pushing it on people.
Well, it was really funny because we've just been sort of a disaster this month. We've been traveling a bunch, and Bryce isn't here.
Yeah.
It was funny because we actually were supposed to record this episode yesterday, and a guest had canceled, which is fine. That's what happens.
Right.
And I reached out to Adela, and I was like, hey, can you fill in for tomorrow? And this is a couple days ago. And she said, yes, if it changes, let me know. And I'm like, no, we're locked in for 12:30. I wasn't annoyed with her at all. I'm just like, no, we're locked in. This is going to be, I was like, no, I literally was like, we're locked in for 12:30. Don't worry, And then of course, like Riley's like, hey, I have to reschedule. And I was like moments later.
Really?
Moments later.
Thanks for preparing him for that.
Yeah, and I go, well, when you know
it.
it, she's like, yeah, that's why I kind of just said I'm flexible.
Yeah. I had a feeling.
All right.
So
cool.
It's kind of like that, except for with that's what kind of my favorite thing. I mean, I love the spirit world. They're both awesome, but I think my favorite thing is being able to jump time.
Yeah, I would say that's a pretty cool ability.
She said casually.
A little bit. Yeah.
So do you see it as like time traveling, or do you see it, how would you describe it? Like, walk us through what that experience is like.
Yeah, it definitely feels like when I'm able to see it, I'm in that space. Like, let's say I say to you, this is going to happen in 2 or 3 months, which I can see the time. And I'll say, this is all the things that will lead up. And in this moment, this is when I see you sitting in this office and I can see conversations. Like, this is what the person's going to say. And
now, when you say you see it,
visions.
Are you closing your eyes and letting the visions come? Or are you like, right now as we're talking, can you see
I don't
other
need
stuff?
to close my eyes for
It's
shit.
like picture in picture.
Yes.
PIP.
Like 1997 style.
Yeah, it's just, I'm sitting here like this and my eyes are open and I can see it. And I can see where you're at in the building, and that's where remote viewing helps.
Are you seeing something specific right now?
I mean, I'm not trying to read you,
No.
but sometimes things come out and I don't mean to.
Is it rude to ask if you're seeing something and we could talk about it now?
Do you want to know?
Sure. I don't know. I got a hint that if I'm just curious. And if you're like, oh, there's nothing coming through right now, that's cool.
No, what happens is that sometimes when I try to flippantly say things, people a lot of times will say, yeah, that's actually happening. And I'm not me, or they'll go, yeah, it totally adheres to the person, even if I'm trying not to. Like, I'm not trying to invade your space, but
we can always cut this too, but not to put you on the spot, but I'm curious.
Well, I think I saw that I definitely saw a new project, something's coming up, but it looked like an office building. It didn't look like
interesting.
Like, I don't know where
I finally leave the business.
No.
Welcome to
It's
HR,
not.
Michael.
It's not. It's finally laying up the acting hat,
delivering fruit baskets.
You're walking in, and they say, "No, I actually saw you having a meeting." It did not look like that kind of office. It looked like a big kind of office with glass walls, that type of cliche thing. But I feel like what I saw happening is that you weren't sure about it because it didn't seem like, because you weren't interested in it, but it was taking you a little bit different direction, not out of acting, but kind of like, I don't know if it's like they want you to host something, or if it's like something that you're going, this looks like the money's really good, everything about looks good.
I'll do it.
I just saw you kind of, the reason why I think it kept coming up is because it looked very positive, and maybe I'm supposed to warn you usually when I see those things, like to maybe give it a chance. For some reason, it's only because maybe you just didn't picture yourself doing that.
How far down the line are you thinking this?
Well, I'm hearing like June.
Okay. Wow,
but
that's
this
quick.
is like kind of more like when you're having the meeting about it. Okay, so this is when it's presented to you. And I do kind of see it as like, the vision I get is when a ball, I don't know anything about baseball, but when some ball throws from left field. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, sports talk.
When someone's like, something comes out of left field.
So I feel like it literally hits you like, where did this come from? Even though you're not totally shocked, it's just not the direction or the auditions you were going on.
Got it.
But it's kind of like they want you to go, well, we saw this, we like you for this, and would you be interested? So I just see you like tempted, but nervous about, is this what I'm going to be doing?
Cool.
In that kind of way. So yeah, so sometimes like what happens is like I kept repeating the same thing to you.
Yeah.
And I've had people say, why do you keep saying this? Like even in readings, I'm like, blah, blah, blah. And I'm trying not to even try. And so it was, why do you keep saying that? Because this is this. And then I go, oh, okay. So then, like with you, when you notice I'm repeating the same thing,
I'm like, what's this office? What are you talking about?
Yeah, I'm trying to block it, but I'm not blocking it.
Right.
Yeah. So then when you say, okay, I'm allowed to,
Adela, you never have to block anything in the Bigfoot Collectors Clubhouse.
True. Let it flow.
This is like a safe space.
I give people their space, and even like in my everyday life, it's hard. Sometimes I'm like, why do I even bother? But it's also because some things you don't want to see.
Sure.
Do you see your own life?
Oh yeah.
Is that hard to deal with?
No. It's not hard to deal with at all, because there's been a few times where my sight's been cut off and I can't see. And
Is that like a watcher pulling the cord on the other end? Like,
All right.
You're like, all right, you've seen enough. Or you're just getting like the Mad Men teaser version where they show you little clips, but none of it tells you anything about what next week's episode is going to be. There's a 5-year-old reference for
is
you.
that Mad Men? Because I did not like that.
Oh,
show.
I loved Mad Men.
Of course you did. You're a male.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. It's a very misogynistic show.
It is very.
Well, but they were.
Isn't it deconstructing?
They were saying this was not okay. Clearly.
Yeah.
Were they?
He's not.
I feel
I don't know.
like
I never watched it.
Oh, well, then you can't judge.
I can't judge it. I saw one episode.
I think,
It's about.
You learn from the error of his ways.
It's talk about it. Sidebar. That to me, I liked it because it did feel like a time machine, and you're like, whoa, this is the way people behaved back then. This is insane.
Yeah.
And you can kind of see how far or how little.
You don't think men
little we've
watched
come.
it like, yes, why can't we bring those
Some
days
did.
back?
Some definitely did.
Some definitely did, I'm
Yeah.
sure, but I don't think that was the intention of the
Okay.
show. I would say the main instead if there was anything like that in the show was the fashion.
Yeah.
The style
the
and
fashion's
fashion
pretty
and
awesome.
that stuff is like
I
but,
do love the
furniture.
fashion
you know,
and the furniture.
but like
Good era for
it
furniture.
is
Bad era for women's
behavior.
rights.
Yeah, just general behavior. Yeah.
Just,
a lot of human rights,
just in-
actually.
Yeah.
just in general,
Unless
all
you're
the
a man.
rights.
But there are
Great
Right
chairs,
now.
though. Great
there
chairs.
is an arc. There is a story arc, especially for the main female characters,
okay.
about overcoming that oppressive stuff. So I would recommend checking it out.
Hey,
It's
Michael.
good. There's
Okay.
it's telling a story.
Welcome to the new podcast.
It's
Mad
all
about Mad Men.
There you go. That's good. That's very good.
I'll fucking make that
That was
podcast.
good.
One person's
Maybe that's
angry
the
about it.
office.
The other
Yeah.
person's super into it.
Somebody
and
heard
they
it,
argue.
and now he's going to get a meeting in
Yeah,
June.
that's the meeting.
This is
Mad
the
about
meeting.
Mad Men.
I am going to make this podcast. I'm
Done.
going to rewatch Mad Men with guests. It's called Mad About Mad Men.
It's a good show.
It's actually a great title.
You'll be one of the guests on the show.
That was awesome.
So let's talk about ETs. Let's talk about these. First of all, I don't know if you're paying.
I didn't
You didn't finish
answer.
your question.
Yeah, I wanted
sorry.
to, in case people were like, "Did this ever happen?" Just
Oh, right,
to let
right,
people
right,
know
right.
real quick. It has been shut off for me when it's like you got to learn this on your own. And when those times have happened, I've been like, "Is this how everybody feels?" And people, people who know me, like, "Yeah, Adela." Like they get annoyed. Like this is how we feel all the time. Because so you don't see what's coming next.
Right.
And they're like, no.
Nope,
I go,
blind
well,
and
that's
terrified.
very horrible. Like, I think it's like horrible. And I just freak out. I'm like, this is a terrible way to live.
This is why people are upset all the
and
time.
then this is why people are upset. And then I go, you know what? Now this is why I have to do this work because this is terrible. And it has been times, and I start freaking out. But most of the time, I always see something coming. When I was pregnant, I knew I was going to be born early. I saw the NICU. I saw everything.
Wow.
So I got the nursery ready early because everyone's like, well, why are you doing that? So I've always seen things. So it's very few times I've been surprised, which is kind of fun for me because I'm like, wow, I got surprised by something. So.
Has anyone ever successfully thrown you a surprise party?
One time my mom
question.
did, and she didn't believe in this type of stuff, so it's not why she did it, but she kept saying she got me very upset and told me I was punished. And I was about to cry, and then everyone came out. And she said, I said, why would you do this? She says, because it's so hard to surprise you. You can never surprise you. It was torture. It was the worst ever surprise.
Happy birthday.
And all the guys had crushes on. I was just mortified.
Oh,
I was
my God,
mortified.
wow.
There's a better way to
but
do
it
this.
worked.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
but
worked.
it was successful.
Just like crank up the noise levels so loud that you can't
Just torture
see the
the
party.
poor person.
Party coming. All right.
Yes.
ETs. Let's talk about
ETs,
this.
yeah.
So I don't know if you've been paying attention.
Yeah.
But there's a lot slowly since December of 2017. There's more and more stuff coming out about military jets seeing and admitting that they've been seeing unidentified crafts. They call them UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomenon.
Okay.
And lately, there was just a story that came out last month or earlier this month about the naval officers are finally, like Navy pilots are starting to get pissed that there's a stigma around reporting these crafts that they see. So they are, it's like, this was a story in the Washington Post about the Navy is kind of like changing its policies about how these things are reported and are admitting that they are seeing stuff flying around in our skies that they cannot identify. So that's just kind of like
Yay.
where ufology's at right now. And I
Yeah,
think there's
I've heard of
people
that.
who are like way more into this. There's a lot of people who really think that like disclosure is starting to actually happen on a level. I don't know about that. And that's the fun is like debating and wondering. But I don't know. I didn't know if you knew anything about that. But I'm wondering we're living in a really weird time, obviously.
Yeah.
Shit is crazy right now. And I wonder, I was even driving over going, has life just always been this weird? Hasn't it always felt like there's just like political and environmental strife happening all the time? Is this just what being 40 feels like? And I'm like, I don't know. I really feel like something crazy is going on. There's some big change. I really feel like something's happening right now.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just because I'm unhappy with the way things are, and I'm sure, and I know that there are people listening to the show who are probably really thrilled with the way things are.
Right.
But shit just seems fucked up right now. What the fuck is going on? Are UFOs going to help us out? Who on the other side? Like what? I don't know. Like what if the ETs? So let's talk about you talking to ETs and what kind of insight do they have?
Well, in all seriousness, there's two things that I've seen it as. One, we have the internet, so I absolutely agree with you that things have been fucked up many times. I don't think we can see history has shown us that. But we know everything now. Like, we didn't know this small little town in China, what was going on. Like, I know I didn't in the 80s as a kid. We didn't know every single thing that was going on that we do now, which is there's a benefit and there's a negative. But
And also
Yeah.
being able to know everything, and then also being able to just find things that support your worldview.
That's right. That's
and
right.
ignore everything else.
Right, that's true.
So this is a weird
So
mix of
there's
both.
a positive and a negative to it, but that's like anything, right? That's
Yeah.
like anything is a progressive thing. But the other thing that there is a shift, and I remember about maybe, and I know a lot of people that know about this movement called the shift.
Never heard of the shift.
You haven't heard of the shift?
No.
Oh, Michael.
Is this kind of like a 2012 thing?
No. No, I don't know. I mean, some people out there
Quetzalcoatl?
might have some things to say that
The flying serpent
when the
god?
shift is supposed to happen.
How many Mayan references you got?
The matter, the melding of matter and spirit? Quetzalcoatl?
What reference is this?
Mayan calendar
Oh,
2012.
Mayan
calendar
calendar.
stuff.
Oh no, it's not the Mayan calendar stuff, but
It was a big disappointment.
that was kind
I
of
was
a
ready.
flop.
Yeah.
Come on, guys, that was bad.
Wait, but what are you speaking about though?
Yeah, so I would say about 9 years ago, I did hear something tell me like there's going to be a shift. And the shift is the idea that this is how I see it. If you look it up online, you'll see a bunch of things called the shift. But how I've seen it is that the two worlds are slowly starting to collide. So this is why technology is helping us, that it is going to start to happen. I remember
The
being
two
told
worlds being...
the dimensions I've been talking about and this ours.
Well, that is kind of what was behind the whole 2012 stuff. And like Quetzalcoatl was a winged serpent god, and he was like a flying snake. And I know there's a lot of mythology that I'm leaving out in this thing, but the idea of a snake with wings is taking something that's very matter based and grounded, a snake, and then allowing it to fly. So it's kind of the melding of matter and spirit into one, which is, Alan Moore writes about a lot of this stuff in his comics, and like Promethea and Tom Strong talked about like his apocalyptic worldview was essentially this. It was the post-apocalyptic world was where three-dimensional living, breathing humans like us were coexisting with the spirit realm right here on Earth.
But except for the only thing
in a positive way.
Yeah, that's right. The only thing I would say is that no one has to fear. There's not going to be fall. There's not going to be no fall. There's not going to be a falling down or things going horrific. It's slowly been happening, and now people are starting to see it. And so that's what the awakening is about, too. The whole awakening idea is that people who are seeing it are asking questions like you guys are and talking about it, and the people who are refusing to see it are going to have a harder time because it's happening anyway. So, and the new generations and the new babies being born are kind of coming in to help with it. They're a little more evolved. So it's just evolvement, and that is happening. And so that realm, the ET realm and the spirit realm, they are all in, the higher beings are all helping creating this awakening and this shift, because it's like, this time is now. So I remember hearing like, this is why you have to go do this work, because you have to help people awaken, not in a mean, abrupt way that people think, but in a loving, compassionate, empathetic way. But people who are refusing will have a hard time.
Right.
Yeah.
We're talking like Sunday morning breakfast in bed awakening, not like Monday morning harsh
Like,
alarm.
Right.
I
awakening.
overslept.
But
Fuck.
you
Yeah,
guys
it's like,
are doing, like, this podcast is a part of that. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, you guys asking questions. When I started reading like 16 years ago, professionally, people thought I was like insane when I talked about time zones, and they didn't know what I was talking. They're like, "Wait, you don't use cards?" I mean, they didn't know what I was talking about. And now people are like, "Yes, yes, exactly. Yes, I understand."
Right.
So people are much more in this place, but it is amping up a little bit, because we have to create the shift.
Okay.
And eventually to get to a place where, like Star Wars, where, Yoda and was hanging out with Luke, and, to get to a place where you see in Harry Potter where energies can be normal.
Do you think that's where existence is headed?
Absolutely.
Do you think it's going to
That's why
be
I'm
like
doing this work.
we're
Yeah.
literally going to be able? I'm going to be able to sit
Yes.
across the table from a dead loved one, and they're like sparkling in a sparkling
Not even
force ghost
not even
form?
sparkling. Just this. You're gonna be able to have that communication, just like VR is helping us understand how to have different connections.
Right.
And then now we haven't mastered it yet, but hologram type of idea.
Right.
But yeah, absolutely. That's the whole reason why I'm doing this, is to connect people to that realm, so that realm can more and more tell you, like, we can have a relationship together.
Whoa. Cool.
Do you think technology plays a large role in
Yeah.
the creation of that world?
Yeah, because it's helping people understand the concept that you can be in two worlds.
So maybe I've seen too many, movies where like the evil corporation tries to get in there and take this over. But like,
Yeah.
what like role will like Apple or like Disney have in this type of real, like, when you say stuff like this, I'm like, man, this is gonna, like, I just feel like, what's gonna happen to like the capital, like the fucking, like, the system when this happens? You know what I mean? Are there gonna be like corporate bad guys who are gonna try to like take over and monetize the other side?
That can't happen.
Because the Watchers got those
Not just the
fucking
Watchers,
cool
yeah,
swords.
not the Watchers, but there's a lot of higher beings, and much more powerful.
Is anyone wearing like a suit and tie gonna get their face melted off?
Almost.
Well, the
definitely.
thing is that you got to understand, those corporate people are actually afraid of this type of thing
Yeah.
most of the time. So, I mean, it's just, I'm not saying all of them, because there's a lot that are actually well versed in this, but it's not going to happen in that kind of way. There's no controlling that energy.
Got it. That's the second time you've said that that some people in high power, high places of power in the corporate world are very knowledgeable about this stuff. Mm-hmm. That sounds a little conspiratorial. Is it?
No, I've read for very powerful people.
Oh my goodness!
she knows.
So what do you mean they know this stuff?
It's just, I would say that from my experience, I would say that I'm not saying that I've only...
Because I think some people will hear that, and I'm not saying this is what you're saying. I'm just like covering the bases here. We'll be like, that's like the Illuminati,
Right.
people who are using the occult to gain more power.
Yeah,
and
no.
Stuff.
Let me rephrase that. People who, a lot of people in power are not coming from a bad place. They're coming from an understanding of energy and understanding how to use their power wisely, and understanding the whole concept of energy and how to pull things to you, and that the responsibility of that. And when I've read for people that, I will say to people, listen, I'll help guide you to this, but if you don't use this responsibly, that realm will take it from you and you will fall. So you've seen people rise and then you wonder why they fall. You've seen famous people, you've seen powerful people.
Yeah.
That realm, there is a spiritual warfare. There is a spiritual warfare happening where there's a realm that wants to rule over and oppress, and then there's the other side that wants to free and awaken.
Okay. So there are some bad guys on the other side.
Yeah, there's definitely bad actors. Negative energy, bad energy that wants to destroy for the sake of destroying.
Got it.
And want to oppress and rule over. That's the battle between the two. And so I'm not trying to paint like everything's just roses and utopia, but you have to know both. You have to be aware of both, obviously. So yeah, of course there's both.
And where did the ETs fit in all this stuff? Like you say the ET realm, the spirit realm, are they one and the same? Do they have better access to one another than we do?
Yeah, they definitely have better access to another than we do because they're not bound to this physical realm and they're not coming from fear. The ET realm, from what I've been shown, is they're absolutely trying to help guide and awaken. Of course, they're part of it. They're part of the collective conscious whole.
Okay.
But we're afraid of it.
Right.
So even though we say we want it, I've been told, like even me, they're like, if we've physically just walked through the door, we know you'll freak out. So this is why.
Yeah, 100%.
So that's why we're all waiting.
Been awesome though. Just
walk through the door.
Yeah.
But that's why I've seen them through telepathic and other things, where I thought I was asleep, and I've told you guys about that. So they know that people would weird out. So even though they're saying they really want it, but yeah, they're very actively involved in what's going on because they're part of the other dimensions.
I appreciated that when I had my weird photo stuff in Thanksgiving and it looked like there was an alien in the reflection of a window in the background, Adela was like, yeah, this tracks. Go back and listen to this. I think it's actually we covered the whole thing on a Patreon episode. We did, yeah. But I had a weird entity appear in the background of a photo. It's up on the Instagram. If you go back to around Thanksgiving of 2018, you'll see it.
Did you feel like it was something real?
It did kind of. Yeah, I think enough that I brought it up on this show. Because I
you were pretty excited about it.
Well, I was just sort of like, look. If we have a show about this stuff, let's talk about it. Yep. You know what I mean? So I might be just seeing something here. But what was weird about it was a thing where I had taken a series of photos, and in the first photo I saw what looked like an like almost like a mist.
Right.
That Susie Gardner later said that she even said the food wasn't hot. That wasn't
the food steam debate.
But it was almost like that caught my attention,
right?
And then that made me go, I need to look closer at these pictures. And I scrolled like 2 photos over, and I'm talking in the deep background, it was a reflection of a reflection. My eye went directly to this thing, and I kept zooming in, and there appeared to be what looked like the half like almost like peeking around a door of like an alien, like a classic gray, which you said it wasn't a gray.
Well, because
I sent you the photo because I was like, what do you think about this?
Am I just seeing like stuff? The ones I've seen that aren't like the tiny little ones,
right.
But it's very similar.
So what have you seen, and who are these guys, and who's following me? Because I've had one appear.
But Michael, if you're let me. I'm going to say this to you right now because I've tried to say this to you before. I'm going on record.
Yes,
you have abilities. You see things. You're in denial. When you're ready to open them up, I will help you.
Okay.
Okay. B.
Thank you.
B. If you are talking about it, and this goes for both of you,
and Bryce
and Bryce. Bryce, this is for him too, because Bryce knows, but he kind of limits. But he knows he sees things.
Bryce is accurate. That is very accurate because I'm like, let's talk about it, and Bryce is like no, he needs to take more time to process stuff before he feels okay to talk about it.
Yeah. So you guys are all going about it. But you also say a lot of stuff that I know you're hearing. You just are not realizing you're hearing it, because you say things that you're connecting. Like you'll hear a story and you go, it's this. And I'm like, yes, it's that.
Right.
So and he just Riley, I feel like, just quietly kind of lets things come through him, and he doesn't need to say it, but I think he knows a lot more than he says.
Oh, he definitely knows a lot.
Yeah, he's
that.
quiet about it, and he's a musician, and that's high vibrational. So
that was what I was about to say.
Yeah, and then Bryce we talked about, so we know Bryce is limiting it. But what I was going to say to you, if you're talking about this and you're talking to them, that is what they require. That is all they require. So, of course, you have things trying to communicate with you.
Okay.
And appear and coming into your space.
I'm into it.
I'm getting thumbs up from
Great.
Riley over
Right
here.
on, dude.
So who are these then?
do this.
So what is this type of ET? Do you think?
They are
because they're not showing up in UFOs and beams of light. They're showing up in photographs where they don't belong.
They're interdimensional.
Or they're showing up at my window at 4 a.m.
Yeah. The one that you showed up in your window wasn't so friendly.
Oh, sleep tight, Michael.
Well, at least I have Albie there to scare him away.
Wait a minute. Let me just say they're not meaning any ill will, but they're curious about you, because when you talk about these things, you're sending out a Wi-Fi signal. Don't
I'm good.
You're sending out a
Sensing up.
Wi-Fi signal of saying you're interested in talking to them. So that's it. It's like a signal, and you sent the signal back that night, like, I am not, and then they go.
Right.
Okay, so it was fine. So you can have that power, just like True Blood, okay? The alien, to me, the ones that I know that are friendly don't invade in that way. Okay. So what I'm trying to say is the ones that I see that are trying to help you are ones that are trying to go, listen, we know it freaks you out. So we're just slowly, in a very subtle way, trying to let you know.
Hide in the background of a photo
Right.
that's super creepy.
Yeah, but
poking one eye out.
it's a interdimensional way of letting you know. It's
Right.
not even there that being wasn't there. They're just able to reflect an image of themselves.
Right.
I love that
right.
it's a reflection of a reflection,
Yeah.
too. That makes
Yeah.
it really cool.
And there was nothing in there that looks.
And they
like
can
this. So
talk
weird.
to you when you want to.
Okay.
But you can also say you don't want to.
Why am I so scared of this stuff?
Because even all the stuff I've seen, I've had, and I've gotten used to, like an airplane just going off, like toy airplane going off saying, how come you're not, the phone calls that I covered in that YouTube, I don't know if the phone calls I've gotten.
Right. We've heard stories about this all the time where, like, you get a weird phone call.
No.
Wait. Let's talk about it then.
Okay, because this is
I'm not sure what you're
probably,
talking
if
about.
anyone out there has had this experience, I'm curious, because no one I know has. But it used to happen to me almost once a month, where I'd be on the phone and you're on the other line, you drop away, and I hear "dol she shol me shaw she," like another language.
What?
"Dol she shol me," like that, right? Like repeating the same tonal inflection. So it's not, I'm not a musician like him, but I understand tonals, and understand when you hear another language that someone's like repeating the same thing.
Right, yeah.
And then I would say, what do you want? Believe it or not, I'd be like, what? And it would go, "dol she show," like, and then it would, before it would happen, I would always know it would happen, because the phone would go like that, and then it would start. And then they would, I would say, I heard you guys. I heard you. What do you want? And then it would drop, and the person would come back and be like, what just happened?
Could they hear you
No.
talking?
They would never,
Weird.
I'd be alone. Only twice did someone hear it. Once was a guy I knew who was into aliens. So I guess, I don't know.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, that was crazy. And the other girl was like, I'm no longer your friend. Goodbye. Like,
no way.
Yeah, it freaked her out. It freaked her out big time.
Whoa.
So it would happen
not
to
cool.
me once a month. So often, and it would be the same thing. It would, I would know it was coming, because it's not like cell phones don't scramble.
Yeah.
And it would go.
I mean, I don't know what they do, but yeah. I know
Well,
what you
I'm
mean.
just saying, I never heard.
That
This.
particular sound.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like when something's trying to find a frequency.
Right.
Like in the olden days, actually, like in the olden days, but like in the days when you had landlines and things.
Yeah. Like
Or
the
not even
80s.
that, but like the radio, like a radio. Not Yeah.
Well, John Keel in Strange Creatures in his Strange Creatures book, I can't remember the full title, he talks about there were areas that had high level activity of UFOs, and there's particularly this one family on the farm that kept seeing this stuff. And this is almost like a mini skinwalker situation, not that crazy. But
did they have this type of phone?
they would but they would get phone calls where they would pick up the phone and hear something that sounded like a language that no one understood.
That's right.
Come through, and it almost sounds exactly like this. And so he's this is a phenomenon that does occur.
Okay.
It's not super common, I think, but like John Keel wrote about this stuff for sure. So you're not alone. I know.
Had it
and this
happen
might be different
to me like weekly for a while, and then my sister was on the phone once. Who this isn't like totally her thing, but she heard the scrambling part, and then she went off and they did it, and she said, what was that? Like, just even that part freaked her out.
Yeah.
And so I can't, so it used to happen a lot. So when that airplane thing happened, it's a toy airplane. You have to push all the way down. It scrambled. It was sitting by the bed. I was watching it, and it went, and it went, how come you're not answering our radio contact? And then it went, how come you're not answering? And this plane.
The toy airplane said this?
Yes.
In English? Like that?
The plane had the sayings already.
Oh,
right?
Oh, okay.
Let me rephrase that. The planes had those things already, but there were a bunch of different ones in order, and it went back to the same one twice. And I said, I heard you guys, that's enough, cut it out. And it stopped. So when I used to get these calls, one time I was in Target, and I was like on the phone, and I said, this is getting ridiculous. And I started going, fine, I'll talk to you guys. So that's when I started talking to those beings. And once I started talking to those beings, it stopped.
Wow.
But it used to happen so often, and it is very, I'm not gonna lie, it's alarming.
Yeah, I would say so. Also, what sort of intense airplane toy has the dialogue line, why aren't you answering our communications?
It's from the movie Airplane.
Okay. Like, that's a bleak toy.
But it was supposed to say other things like, hey, let's land, and it just scrambled, and I watched it. I just watched it scramble.
Whoa, weird.
And I watched I have had other things, like my notepad start moving and clicking on an article about the family that people say are connected to aliens, the Roth.
Oh boy, you're going real.
I did not know any of these things. This was like a notepad. This was even before iPads. I was watching it click this article and get it big, and I was like, what is this about? And then I looked it up. Yes, you guys have had things that would freak people out. And then the part is that luckily sometimes people have been on the phone with me, because otherwise I just sound a little crazy.
Right. I didn't know the Rothschilds had like alien connections.
I don't know. That's what people say.
I mean, I know that they're part of the whole Illuminati conspiracy.
I don't know, but
that sounds like a rabbit hole. I'll have to go down.
I think the main thing for me was that it was clicking and opening on its own. And I mean, I don't know. Someone was doing it or
this stuff. I don't know.
So those beings are, once I started talking and allowing those energies, that's when I started getting more and more the messages about what we're trying to do to help awaken people.
Got it. Or do you know where they're from?
Oh, they're always telling me they're interdimensional, like the blue ones that some people call them Arcturians. And when you go to the alien convention, you'll hear of these blue bird ones. They are not that.
That's right. We'll be at Contact in the Desert in less than 2 weeks.
Can't wait to hear about
Coming
that.
Up.
Yeah. It's gonna be a trip.
To hear about that one.
Oh man, she's got quite a smile when she said that.
It's gonna be good. But but it's not the bluebirds, which you'll hear about. They're more like they're tall, skinny, blue, and they're supposed to be. People have called them the Arcturians. That's how I've seen them. And they're supposed to be like these very highly evolved interdimensional beings that are all about trying to wake people up and bring
And do you
awareness.
think that that's what you saw in that photo that I sent you that I said?
The one that you sent, I felt like was that one I had seen, but the very first time I ever seen one. They are kind of like grays, but they're not like those row-body.
Yeah, this had more like rounder looking eyes.
Right,
rounder
exactly. I've never seen black eyes. I've seen their eyes normal.
Okay.
Like almond, but not like scary, and Riley's making these faces over.
Was I making faces?
You're like, have you
He's
seen?
just thinking about
He's thinking about it.
I was thinking about Contact in the Desert, actually. I was like, what is that
going
gonna be
to?
like?
Are you going to?
Oh, yeah, we're doing a live show.
I'll be there.
Cannot wait for you guys.
2:30 in the Enterprise Room. So you have to have a ticket to come see us. It's basically like we're doing a panel, but it's a podcast.
You're going to see a lot of fun stuff.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It sounds like you and my dad going to a UFO festival in
I
Roswell.
don't think so. I think your dad would think I was crazy.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, probably.
Probably.
I'm pretty grounded about it.
Yeah, no, this is why this is why it's great to talk to you, because you're so grounded about it and so conversational, that even if someone's listening who doesn't believe in this stuff or doesn't buy it, and I think they're a minority in our audience or our listenership, it's just, this is exactly the kind of conversation that, I imagined having, starting this podcast, which is like, let's just talk about it and follow it and see where this kind of thing leads,
Yeah,
that's why
I want to know if anyone else has had these phone calls, because I've looked it up and I haven't really found anything except for what I did think I saw an article of.
I'll show you that book, and you can check it out.
And
There's
I'm sure people will have like, oh, there's this technology or whatever. But I'm telling you, the girl that was on the phone with me, she's like, you have too much weird stuff happening. I can't deal with it.
Have you read much John Keel? Have you read his stuff like Mothman Prophecies?
No.
I think you'd really.
Okay.
He was mostly active in like the 60s, 70s. But I definitely think you should read his stuff, because I'm hearing echoes of what you're saying in some of the books that I've been reading. So we'll talk about that off air. Okay, we have to wrap up this episode, which sucks.
Yeah, that flew by.
Yeah, it flies by, and it's probably longer than we even think. Adela,
yes.
Are you going to stick around for just a few more minutes over and go with us to our other side and talk to us over on the Patreon?
I always am happy to go to the other side.
Okay, great.
Awesome.
We're going to Adela's going to join us over on the other side. She's going to instruct us, give us a brief rundown on how to cleanse your space if you're having problems like we're having here in the studio. Thanks for listening, everybody. I want to thank Adela Lavine again for coming on the show. Where can people find you? Where can people find your podcast?
Oh, yeah. So you can find me on AdelaLavine.com, Adela Lavine on all social media. Our podcast, like right now, is just on Spotify and Breaker.
But I just listened to it straight off. I didn't have to download anything. So if you Google it, you can find it.
Yeah, if you Google it, we haven't gotten notification that we're approved for iTunes or anything yet. But
you'll get that.
All right. Yeah. But we're just babies in that world, in the podcast world.
Well, our listenership will come over and help build an audience for you guys.
We're not babies in what we do, so we are experts in what we do, and we're grounded and have a good time with it.
And you are available for readings, too.
Oh, that's right. I have gotten people from your show get book readings, so thank you.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I am available for readings at DaleLavine.com. And also, if you want to watch my YouTube, and you have, it's out there for you free on all these subject matters. I just posted one today on remote viewing.
Great. Cool. Awesome. We'll definitely check that out. Right. Riley and I, along with Bryce, will be at Contact in the Desert Saturday, June 1st, 2:30 in the Enterprise Room. Please come see us do that show. Yes. Please come and, it'll be, it's going to be wild. We don't know what to expect. We have some awesome guests lined up, which we're going to keep a surprise.
Yep.
Might announce them next week, since it'll be the week of the show. But
it's going to be awesome. Then,
you're just gonna have to wait and find out.
Are you sleeping there for like a few days?
One day.
We're gonna stay the night. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to spend some time there.
We got a hotel room.
Yeah.
We'll not tell you where, but
yeah, please don't tell me.
Don't find us.
The aliens will find them.
You're to be found.
Tall blue alien.
Blue aliens. I'm sending them.
Give me an Arcturian. I'm gonna get
phone calls.
I'm gonna get drunk on convention cocktails with a couple Arcturians.
That sounds awesome.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next week, and until then, go get regressed. All right.
Bigfoot Collectors Club is produced by Riley Bray. Our theme song is Come Alone by Suneaters, courtesy of Lotuspool Records. If you like the show, please rate and review us on iTunes. It really helps get the podcast to more listeners. To support the show, check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/Bigfoot Collectors Club and unlock multiple reward episodes every month.